Well, welcome Blue Marble Riders to my latest video, my latest mods on the Kawasaki Z900RS. In fact, I got this idea from, I won't call you a troll, but someone who quite clearly did not like these stock indicators on the North American bike, and you know, I don't really blame them. They weren't a massive turn off for me, but I agreed with whoever you were, Mr. Commenter. So what I've done here is I put some TST LED EcoPod bullet indicators on the Kawasaki. And this video is basically to tell you what that process was like, getting the stock ones off, putting an LED relay in it, and then of course I had to make it more complicated by also putting a tail tidy on at the same time that was designed for the stock indicators. So how on earth do you fit a pair of, in this case, TST LED bullet indicators onto a stock tail tidy, or a tail tidy that is meant for a stock pair of indicators? Some close-up shots of them just to get to wet your whistle before we go through the process of putting these on.
Okay, as promised, here they are. These are TST Industries Eco LED pod turn signals, a pair of them, and I've got 4 of them, of course, front and back. I also bought some adapters that go from the bullet connectors on these things to Kawasaki connectors. They also come with plates that fit, so I'm hoping and wondering if these will fit over my Evotech tail tidy, which has these things on them. If you take a look at these, this is probably the wrong one, maybe this one here. There we go. I'm hoping that these will do the job for me and allow me to fit indicators. We will get started with removing the front indicators and we'll get these on. People will note also that you can buy resistors. Because these take much less current than an incandescent bulb, you'll find that you get a very quick flash if you put these on. It'll blink rapidly, and you want to turn it down to about 85 flashes a minute. The way to do that is with one of these, or by wiring a resistor in series on every single one of these things, I believe. I would rather not wire in a resistor and have to pack that extra wiring in other places, so I ended up getting this, which is a 2-pin LED flasher relay. This one's for the Kawasaki. TST make this specifically. You can actually take it out, pull this casing off, and there is a way to adjust how fast they go, but they are set to a standard 85 flashes a minute, which is the sort of industry standard for that. So this will be plugged in under the seat once we've got everything else in. Much easier, and it's really cheap. I think it was less than 10 bucks for this thing. Much easier than buying resistors. I ended up getting these from, as you can tell, Motorstars, which is in Canada. But I think these TST EcoPod LED turn signals are sold in all sorts of different places. They have a kind of a neat graphic on the side of them. I don't know if you can see that. It's a very low profile, and they come with you can buy different colored bezels around here. This one comes with silver, which fits the Kawasaki. You can also get gold, you can get red, you can get all sorts of different colors, but the stock one is just silver, so I went with that. Okay, first thing to do is to get the chic fairing off, and I'm going to do that with 4mm Allen keys. Three bolts, that's all you need. Some of you are probably noticing these 2 lovely Hella high power horns here. These are waterproof. They need a relay. I think I talked about them before. Well worth it. Okay, 3 bolts, and she comes off. The next thing we've got to do is we've got to take off the bezel, then the whole headlight housing here, in order to access some screws behind the indicators here. So first of all, let's get the bezel off. Yeah. And ooh, little washer there. Look at that, little plastic washer right on the end there. And there it is. Make sure you got the little nylon washer that comes with it. There's always a bit of a trick to getting this off, which I have to relearn every time I do it, but just pull this straight out, I guess. All I need to do is undo and get this whole thing off, falling forward, and it should be fine. Here you can see the relay that I put in. These are just a few bucks, and they drive the 2 horns here. Don't try putting in 2 horns, especially high power ones, without a relay. You'll burn your horn switch out. So what we have to do next is to get the the headlight out itself, and then the housing off separately. Look for these silver Phillips screws and take them off. Take off those. There is an adjustment ring here. You can take the screw off, or you can just leave it out like this. Basically, all you want to do is to be able to access these little screws here. I hope you can see it with this guy. These little screws here, so you can unwind the headlight mounting. And there we go. Make sure you get the washer with it. There's a ground wire on it too, so you want to make sure you don't screw with that. Same on the other side, and then this should just fall forward a little bit. This whole housing should fall forward, and I can access the screws inside here to get the indicator off. It's a fiddle. A fiddle to make sure you get that out. Screw them together just because you know it goes with that one. No ground wire on this side, and now this whole thing should move forward a little bit out of the way. Turns out the easiest way for me was just to pull this forward a bit, get a screwdriver in there, and there he is. Little guy's out. Now you want to take this little metal faceplate off. Use my screwdriver and take the metal bit out. It should just dangle on the wire. There it is, OEM fitting, which I believe we might reuse. And there we are. That is off now, dangling loose. So here we go. These wires do come in the back here, and we will have to unplug those and then pull the whole indicator off. You can see a black fitting right there. The black one is the left indicator, the gray one is the right indicator. You need to unplug those so you can get the indicators out, and you'll be plugging the new ones in a minute. Should be able to tease that out of there. There we go. We don't reuse these parts, but so I've just put the metal back on there, slipped in the interior one, then the metal plate on the outside, screwed it together. Okay, so just to make this a little more understandable for you guys, here are a pair of the indicators. Okay, it doesn't matter whether you put this on the left or the right. They're both identical, so it doesn't really matter. Here are the adapters, basically yellow to yellow, black to black, and then this plugs straight in to the Kawasaki fitting, so you have to get these adapters. Here are the mounting brackets. They only sent me one pair of these, and these basically go on the inside of the metal, outside facing out, I should say like that. Okay, and this washer will go on the inside, I'm assuming, on the other side to take some of the pressure and the load of when you screw these things in. You can see the screws here. So here we are. First of all, we've got the nice little indicator. You can see that it's going to be a very low profile. Wire's going to go in through there. But before we can do that, we do need to make sure they're connected up. I'm probably going to end up taping them as well, just to make sure that they don't get. So I'm going to go yellow to yellow, male into female. Okay, and there it's made a nice bang. I can move that forward a bit. It really seals it up nicely, and then I'll run a bit of tape around there. It should make it totally waterproof, which is pretty well ideal. We'll be careful with that. It's a very, very firm fit. So it's not as if you're worried about these bullets coming out. It is a bit worrying that you could end up getting moisture in there. So I'm going to wrap these together with wire and then plug them in. Before you do that, these, I think it's probably best to put all of these on. The way these fit is there's a little ridge inside here. It's not a perfect fit, the ridge is, but at the front, you can level it up either at the back or at the front. I'm going to level it up at the front, and this kind of, what is that, convex dip here. There's this ridge inside here that it almost fits perfectly with. I would have to say this is like a universal mount. It's not the best of fits, to tell you the honest truth. And then this plate's going to go over the front, and then this plastic washer is going to go on the back, and that adds a little more strength to when you screw this thing tight. Not sure I like the look of that very much. I would prefer something coming on through like that. Best way to do this, of course, is to push the cable through here in reverse order, everything and the right face, of course. So here we go. So what I've got here is I've got the bullet LED here. I have taped together the two fittings. So the adapter for the Kawasaki plug-in at the top there, the bullets are taped together here, and I have got everything in the right order that I believe it should be in. There are no instructions with this, so I'm basically doing the best I can do. We'll see what we've got. That's the first thing, and then of course I'll have to work them behind and in to the back here. And they're going to go in through the same hole the other one came out of, which is right at the back here. And if I can even just get it started to be screwed on, well, you've got a rough idea of what that's going to look like. Having wired them both in, before I close all of this up, I want to make sure that they work. So turn the ignition on. You'll see that they will likely go extremely rapidly because I haven't put the relay in yet. And you can see how blindingly bright they are. There's left, there's right, cancel. Nice. So it's simply a matter of putting all this together. I'll do this, I won't bore you with it. And I may not be able to put my fairing on depending on how much clearance there is between this little guy and the fairing and the way it cuts around here. We'll see. Okay guys, as you can see, the two little bullet indicators are 1, 2 right here, and they fit perfectly. Actually, I really appreciate this because it's hiding what I consider not to be the best in the way of mounting solutions. So just a plastic plate there. I'm not really that happy with that, so I'm liking the Schick design. It kind of hides that, and yet these stick out enough, and boy are they bright. So I'm very happy with the way they look on the front. Certainly a lot better than what we had before, and I'll leave you with a picture. The next thing you want to do is to get the side panels off, both sides, after of course you've taken the seat off. And you want to get the regulator bracket out as well, because under here is the flasher relay you want to replace in order to get the signals flashing at the 85 flashes per minute. So I've done the other side. I'll get this off, and I'll show you what it looks like in a minute. So there's a single screw here, and then it's simply pull this off. So crack it loose, spin it round, don't drop anything metal on the tank. There it is. So don't forget the silver comes off with it, and on the other side you can see there are lots of points where it pops in. Just literally pushes into the receptors on the frame, and there's just the one screw hole there. The regulator bracket has two 10mm screws either side. Just undo them, we'll pull up on that, and then we'll see what we can find. So I've unplugged the regulator plug. Don't forget to plug that in before you put this back. Oh my goodness, getting this flasher up was still quite a pinch. You know, a lot of people say you don't have to take the panels off, you don't have to take this off. I didn't take the battery out, but it is tucked right down in there on the left-hand side, right in front of the battery. And it's got a keeper here that fits onto a fitting. So there's the keeper sleeve. I did have to undo this wiring loom here, pull it up and out in order to get to it. But I'm telling you what, I'm not ever putting it back down there again. If I want to change back, or I want to change, or it goes, the one goes, I am going to make sure that I zip tie this somewhere up higher, I think, that I can get to it, because this is absolutely ridiculous. This is the new relay. If you pull hard on this, it just comes straight out there, and there's a little dial in there. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little dial in there that you can adjust the flashing rate. I'm going to leave it stock and standard, push this in. And one of the reasons I am not going to push this back down is this comes out rather too easily for my liking. So if I were to pull on this gray case to get the whole thing up again, chances are I wouldn't be able to get the bottom out. So yeah, so there's the original relay. That's what it says on it. That's how you can identify it. And it literally was right down underneath this big loom here in front of the battery on the left-hand side. I'll replace it with the new one. There we go. And then I will take the keeper. Even though I'm not going to actually put it in the same place, I will put the keeper on it. And just because if I do go back to stock or go back and get a different one and I want to know where the keeper is, this is probably the easiest way to keep it. So I can't actually test it right now. Got to put the regulator back on, plug everything back in before I can turn the bike on. Okay, so I've just tucked the relay down here. It's wedged quite nicely, quite securely between the regulator and between these fuse boxes and between the big wiring loom here. So I think we're good with that. So on to the next part, which is to remove the whole rear end of the bike here, the plate, and to reduce the size of these babies. And so I have bought myself an Evotech tail tidy. Here it is, part of it. And as promised, there is a problem. First of all, we didn't have the fittings, enough fittings. I used the fittings that I had to put the indicators on the front, and I didn't have any more of these. Sent away for them, another pair for the rear. And yeah, as promised, there is a problem. So here's the Evotech, here it is, the tail tidy that will be going on under here. And well, it turns out that if you take a look at the indicator, the first problem is that the indicator is tiny, and when it does go in there, and if I can get it through there, okay, there's literally nothing to bolt it onto, all right? So what you do is you end up getting these babies here. However, if I take off this metal bit here that came with the tail tidy and show you in detail, okay, and I'll leave the indicator up there. These plates don't fit. So, and it's not the plate's fault. It's not the manufacturer's of the indicators. I did promise that this was likely to happen. They will fit just fine on the stock one, which is what they're meant for. But when it comes to the Evotech, it's slightly different size. It's the same size, but it has a reduced aperture in there. And so consequently, these plates, they don't look the best anyway, to be perfectly honest, but they won't fit either. The inside one won't fit in there. There's no real way to sandwich these through. So either I shave these down to make them fit, or I think about trying to cannibalize the old ones and use this fitting here that I can then slip this indicator onto. I'm not sure how I'm going to go with that. Stay tuned. Okay, so yeah, it's a bit of a pull to come out of here. I've actually taken it off and put Vaseline inside the grommets just to make it easier next time to pull these out. So yeah, this just comes straight off. Next, use a 10mm socket, take off the seat catch plate. When you take this off, it'll still be connected to the bike, so you might want to put something soft down the side. The next thing you need to do is unplug these three wires. I remember doing this last time when I did the ECU, and it was tricky. So the white one, there's a pin in the middle here. Try to get your nail between it and pull, not too hard, but these ones are a little trickier. They're sort of inside, and you're supposed to sort of push this spring clip down, but the plastic's so bendy, it doesn't really work. So I find needle nose pliers up and under, way easier to get those out. So they're out now. Once you've unhooked these three wires from the catch, you're going to remove the rear fender by taking off these 5mm Allen key bolts here. They're on pretty tight. I'm guessing maybe there's some thread locker on them. Remember, as you take off all four, the fender's going to fall off. So what you want to do is take off three, loosen the fourth. So get three off. There they are, the three of them. I'll hand take off the fourth in a second. I may have to support the fender. And here we go. So just pass the wires that you unhooked from this latch here through. And there it is. The whole fender is off. I'll try to get you a better angle. So yeah, there is the monstrosity. Actually, you know what? I have to be honest, I've never really hated the back end. I especially like this bit here. But all of this gubbins here can definitely go. So, all right, on to the next bit. Okay, so we need to get this plate off here. We'll be undoing that. We also need to get access, get these wires off, because we're going to be using these from the bike to the new indicators, and we're going to be reusing the the number plate illumination. Yeah, let's get this off. It's one Phillips. There we go, there goes that plate. Oh, the bike loses even more weight, look at that. And then this plate came off the underside. We're now going to take the inside plate to access the wires. There are some Phillips head screws right there. They seem fairly loose, so I could take those off. There's one. And out of the two, out of the four done already. And then the two parts will come apart if I take this off here. This is the nice rounded bit that I actually quite like. When that comes off, I'll put it back on a little later on. And here we have access to the wires going in, of course, to the indicators and the license plate illumination. So my goal, of course, is to see if I can possibly use these bases here on the old indicators to fix the new indicators too. But to do that, I'm going to have to get the indicators out anyway, rather than just leaving them on this old tail piece. One Phillips screw here. There we go. And one Phillips screw here. And there we go. And then if I remember rightly from the fronts, this plate has to come off. This plate has to come off. And then there's a plate inside that stops you squishing the rubber down, so you have to kind of pull that out. Try to ease that out. I might need a slot head to do it. Nope, out it comes. These don't come off because they go through the wires. You're going to have to take it off. Okay, there we go. And then I should be able to squish this rubber in and pull that out. I always imagine if I ever do sell this bike, will the next owner, sorry, want the original parts? So I always keep them in good nick just in case they do. So if you remember, there was an issue with securing this indicator to the fittings that come with the tail tidy. Now, while the indicators would fit with the original unit that came on the Z900RS, had some plastic fittings that would fit nicely over there and would go in, I'm not going to be using the original unit. So my problem was how to get this to attach to this. What I've done is I have cannibalized, or I will be cannibalizing both old indicators from the Z900RS. The indicator, if you take a look at this one here, you can see there's a rubber mounting here. And if what I did is I pulled this piece of plastic out of here by unscrewing it, and the plastic goes on, the rubberized plastic goes on about 1 centimeter into there. So I pulled that off, and then those pieces, of course, the original indicators, do fit very nicely into the aftermarket Evotech tail tidy, as they're designed to do. And what is quite nice is they have 2 holes in them, and one of them is perfectly sized to get this indicator in. Now inside it's a little tough because it's very, very close, but I have a socket that will fit in there and help me drive and I can run this through, hopefully, and help me drive the screw into there and tighten it off. And the question is, what can I do with the other hole? I'll probably end up filling that with some black caulking to make it look as complete and smooth as possible. So if I actually turn this the right way around, this unit will look something like that once it's fitted on, which I think is acceptable. It sticks out a little more, but when it's actually on the bike, it's not actually that far. The number plate comes out to within 3 or 4 centimeters of the width of this indicator. So I think it's a perfect fitment, and I'm going to go ahead with that. Now, as we're using the original license plate illumination, I'm going to have to take this off too, and that's held in, if you can see, by these two Phillips head screws there. So I'll be unscrewing those and then taking this wire out, which we'll be using again. These little bushings also come out from the back here. These were facing out like this. You pull those out because you're going to need to reuse those. There are several parts that we reuse, so that's why I haven't discarded anything down here. And you can see there's a little straight bit here, and they encourage you to push these bushings through. So good. All right, both sides looking pretty juicy now. Okay, of course the next thing is you want to get the license plate illumination light back in. One thing I just noticed is this barely fits through the orifice. It's a real push to get it in there. So yeah, there we go. Just literally made to sizing. And then this goes down here like this, and yeah, you guessed it. These two screws, which are now a lot more accessible, go back in here. Firmly affixed. Good stuff. All right. Love it. Okay, all of these bits here are going to be used again because I'm going to be using the base of this, and so I thought I'd show you what it looks like, seeing as I've done the other one already. The right indicator is the one with the black fitting. This is going to come in important when you put the new indicators in. You want to know that the new indicator with the black fitting goes on the right hand side, and the gray one is for the left. So here we go. There's a screw in there, if you can see it. You can certainly see it from this angle, and I'm going to unscrew that. This will release the little rubber housing, base housing on it, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to butcher the cord. So I'm going to have to cut this in order to get it out, but we'll see that in a second. Here is this screw, and then basically, as you can see, I can just pull this apart now. This I'm not going to use, but this I'm going to use. In fact, what I did on the last one is I'm going to cut this end bit off and have it flush, so the indicators don't stick out as far. Get that metal plate outside before I do it. Let's see if it'll come out. There we go. Beautiful. I'm just going to cut this and take it off, get it out of there. So I'll just cut it here and do that. And once I've done that, I'll trim this off with I just used a Stanley knife to trim this off, and then I'll start mounting the whole thing back together again. So I've got one of these secured in here. Basically, run the bolt and washer through here, and then I've got a very thin socket which I was able to wind it up with. Be careful with these wires, they are very thin, and you want to take them out one at a time because the orifice in my socket in particular is not big enough for both at once. And now it's really quite tight. You know, you could also wedge a screwdriver in there and just stop that bolt from turning, which is what I did as well. And so now it's in there. Best to do it when it's short like this, and then you can fit it into the housing that goes on to the tail tidy here. So best to do it that way, and have this pointing towards the thick side because it's going to be pointing backwards here. So once you've done that, you're going to get this in the fitting for the actual tail tidy. I like to put the square end in first, and then pound in again. Bishop's best friend might actually work. Oh, before I do this, there is a hole there, And I'm probably going to put, I don't know if you can see it from either way, there's an extra hole there, it goes right to the outside. I am going to put in just a little daub of silicone in there as well. Now I have got both of these done. They're inserted, and the keepers are inside them. The original metal plates that are on the base of the original indicators are all in there. And if you look, I have put a little bead of silicone in there to make sure that they don't leak. That's still wet, but it shouldn't interfere with what I'm going to do now. I've also connected the Kawasaki adapters, both white, by the way, so you do need to remember, as I wrote down here, left is gray, right is black. And that is how you can get some TST Industries Echo LED indicator pods into the stock indicator mounts for the North American ones anyway. I'm assuming the European ones may be similar, may not be, I don't know. But essentially, this is going to go through here. And this is going to bolt onto here. And this one will bolt onto the other side, and there they will be. We'll see what they look like on the finished product, but hopefully pretty good. Okay, tail tidy is mainly together. I've got both of these two on. If I turn it over, a couple of grommets go on inside here so the wires can come out without chafing. Then you screw in a couple of tiny, and you can see them better on this side, tiny Allen bolts, screws I should say. Go right on there, and they hold these metal bits on. And then of course you've got to feed the wires all the way through. The last thing they show you is you do need to take this little plastic protector bit off the OEM. It's found right up here. The tail light is going to be resting on here, and this is a nice soft plastic to stop it, you know, abrading against the aluminium, I'm guessing. Okay, got the tail tidy mounted just loosely on the back of the bike. This bit here is going to go up and underneath, and this is where all the wiring comes. It's going to protect the wiring from chafing, splashage, and the rest of it. So that's where this goes. There are these 4 very small Allen screws. I think this is a 2mm. Okay, we are finished. It was really easy to get it back in. It's not even worth the instructions. Bolt straight back up under. There's a little plate that secures everything and makes sure that no water can get inside there. Okay, so yeah, here's the original. Here it is. Plate is off it, of course, but it weighs a ton. This metal plate here and the metal plate underneath here makes it weigh a ton. And yeah, it was essentially much lower down. So pretty pleased with the way that ended up.
Well, here they are. What do I like about them? I like the discreet, low-profile look and the billet feel of them. They were cheaper than many of the others. I also like the brightness. They are incredibly bright. Having ridden with a friend, he assured me that they were many times brighter than the stock indicators, and that was pleasing because safety is one of the things I certainly go for, as you can tell by the 2 very high-power horns that I have on the bike. Because of the integrated LED relay, it's a snap to wire them rather than having to wire resistors into each LED pod to slow the rate down, so they blink at the right speed. Finally, I got lucky. They fit my chic designed fairing perfectly, as you can see, literally 1.5 millimeters to spare. The Evotech tail tidy is really well built. Billet aluminium, anodized, everything fits perfectly, all the hardware supplied. It went in super nicely. I like the way it tidies up the rear end. It looks muscular but neat. Lovely addition. But it wasn't completely straightforward. There were some wrinkles and some complications. The biggest one, of course, was the fact that the stock TST LED Echo Pod indicators don't fit the stock Evotech Kawasaki Z900RS tail tidy. That is designed to accept the OEM indicators. And so there was a need to modify the rear TST LED indicators by mounting them to the OEM indicator stems so that the Evotech tail tidy accepted them. But other than that, it wasn't too bad at all. I also like the way TST Industries sell an adapter kit so that you can buy your indicators, and then for me in particular, of course, I bought the bullet connector to Kawasaki snap connector kits for each of them. It's very cheap and it allows me to literally clip straight into the native OEM Z900RS wiring harness from the indicators. So much easier than soldering. But it's not all about me, as my mother used to say. What do you think? Was the process worth it? Do you like the TST LED indicators? Or do you have a better, simpler, alternate solution to this? Let me know in the comments below. I'll leave a link to the TST indicators and the Evotech tail tidy, which, by the way, I paid for completely. This is not sponsored, they weren't given to me. And don't forget, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, tickle my bell, and don't forget to subscribe. This is the BlueMarbleRider, out.